Hello all. Today I will going to be start with Business Economics 4th semester for SY BCom from module number 2, chapter number 4, Public Revenue. Now the government perform various functions in the field of political, social and economic activities to maximize social and economic welfare. In order to perform this function and duties, the government require large amount of resources. Such resources are raised from various sources. The resources raised in a form of money are called public revenue. The important and a common source of public revenue are the taxes. Income from the currency, market borrowing, income from sales of public asset and the public undertaking, fine, fees, donation, etc. Now there are various sources of public revenue are there. The first sources which is known as tax revenue and the second sources that is known as non-tax revenue. Now in our tax revenue, we're going to be learn regarding direct taxes and indirect taxes. And in a non-tax revenue, which is known as administrative revenue, grant in aid and a gift, and next one deficit financing. And lastly, borrowing. Now we are going to be learn regarding the objective of taxation. Now there are various number of objectives are there. We are going to be learn with the help of point wise. The first one we can say here, the raise revenue to meet the expenditure. The modern government are no more confined to the essential activities prescribed by the classical economist. Their activities are extended to socio-economic sphere, as in the case in India. The government therefore through its budget attempt to raise as much revenue as possible to meet its expenditure. Now secondly, the reduce inequality of income. As economic progress takes place, people benefit in terms of their living standard, employment, income, consumption and other economic variable register a positive improvement. Benefit of progress, however, is not equally distributed. Thirdly, eliminate absolute poverty. Almost all the countries have some of the population living below the poverty line. We in India have about 22% of our population below the poverty line. India has a numerous program designed to help the poor. Huge amount of money is required to be spent for the scheme. According to the government, it's required to have ways and means, including taxation, to collect money to meet their expenses. Fourth objective is economic development and full employment. Market economic function to maximize profit. It is not interested in promoting economic growth and development in a balanced manner. Providing employment to all those who desire to have employed is not the concern of the private sector. Supply of public goods is not a responsibility of the market. Supply of merit goods like education and health is essential for the progress and development of the society. The fifth objective is promoting saving and investment. The objective of development and full employment involve huge investment which depend on saving. Taxation policy through proper tax incentive should promote saving. Non-essential consumption including harmful consumption like tobacco and alcohol must be discouraged through high tax rate. The sixth objective is price stability. Wide fluctuation in the price level resulting in inflation and deflation must be regulated and controlled through the tax policy. Seventh is objective is to control of imbalance in a balance of payment. Tax policy may be adjusted to promote export by extending tax concession as an incentive. Import could be restricted by imposing higher import duty, that is tariff. Now the next one we are going to be learn regarding types of taxation. There are two types of taxation are there. The first one direct taxation and the second one indirect taxation, that is GST. Now what means by direct taxation? A direct tax according to Dalton is paid by a person on whom it is legally imposed. The impact and the incidence of a direct tax is on the same person. There are various number of merits are there, okay, or advantages are there. We are going to be learned with help of point wise. The first merit, it is known as the direct taxes are equitable. The direct taxes are based on a principle of ability to pay, so that burden of taxation is distributed on different people and an institution is in a just or equitable manner. Next merit is direct taxes are totally satisfied. Now in this case we are going to be learn that the taxpayer are certainly about the time of the payment, the manner of the payment and the amount to be paid. Next is direct taxes are elastic. They are elastic in the sense that it will be increase in income and wealth of the people. The yield of direct tax will also increase. Electricity also means that the government revenue can be increased simply by the raising the rate of taxation. And lastly, merit is direct taxes are economical, where we're going to be learn that it is generally economical in the sense that the cost of collecting them is rather low. A direct tax like the income tax is collected as source in the case of salaried person. In such a case, it is both convenient and economical to collect. Now we'll go with demerit of direct taxes. Now what are the demerit or disadvantages of direct taxes? We're going to be learned with the help of point wise. The firstly we can say taxes on honesty. Now in the taxes of honesty we're going to be learn here that there are certain number of difficulties to have an objective and precise basis of knowing taxpayer ability to pay in the case of direct taxes, where many believe that direct taxes are in the form of punishment to honest citizen as they are progressive and whose burden cannot be shifted as in the case of indirect taxes. Next is direct taxes are inconvenient. Direct taxes are inconvenient in the sense that they involve several procedures and formalities in the filling of tax return. Third demerit are affect willingness and ability to work, saving and investment, where the highly progressive and direct taxes reduce people ability and willingness to work and save. This may be negative impact on investment and productive capacity in the economy. And lastly, demerit is affect the investment. Companies generally finance their investment by using their internal saving. Impositions of the higher rate of corporate income tax will reduce their net profit, affecting their saving, investment and economic growth. Now there are different types which I already explained with direct taxes. Now I will going to be explained with indirect taxation. Now what means by indirect taxation are also known as commodity taxes. They are levied on the goods and services. India, like many other countries, has merged the indirect taxes into goods and service tax. Now there are various number of merits of indirect taxes are there. We're going to be learned with the help of point wise. The first one, indirect taxes are convenient. Indirect taxes are imposed on production, sales and movement of goods and services. These are imposed on manufacturer, seller and a trader. But their burden may be shifted to consumer of goods and services who are the final taxpayer. Secondly, the second merit is the elastic, where you can say that some of the indirect taxes can be elastic. The revenue collected by the taxes can be increased by imposing them on commodities with inelastic demand. However, there are difficulties involved in imposition of taxes on such commodities as they are usually necessary goods and services consumed by all the section of society. The next is that third one, can be made equitable. Indirect taxes can be made progressive if they are imposed only on luxury goods consumed by the rich. Such taxes can bring out greater equity. The next one, the greater coverage. In developing countries, only a small proportion of the population pay direct tax due to low income level. In such economies, most of the tax revenue is collected in the form of indirect taxes as they have a wider reach. Indirect taxes have a large revenue potential for the government than in the direct taxes. And lastly, influence on the pattern of production and investment, where market mechanism often fails to bring their desired pattern of production and investment. It left on its own by imposing tax on certain commodities or sectors, the government can achieve better allocation of resources. For example, by imposing taxes on luxury goods and making them more expensive, government can divert resources from this sector to sector producing necessary goods. Now next we go with demerits of indirect taxation. Now there are several number of demerits are there. We're going to be learned with the help of point wise. The first one, unjust and inequitable. One of the strongest argument against indirect taxes is that they are regressive in effect and therefore are unjust and inequitable. Tax burden of indirect tax falls on all persons indiscriminately, irrespective of their ability to pay. When goods and services of mass consumption are taxed, the burden will be more on the poor than on the rich. The secondly demerit is that element of uncertainty. Now, in an uncertainty way, we're going to be learn regarding that indirect taxes are often uncertain. Taxes on commodities with elastic demand are particularly uncertain since the imposition of tax can reduce the demand for tax commodities. Thus, a high rate of tax on a particular commodity may not bring in more revenue. Thirdly, the lack of social consciousness. Indirect taxes do not create any social consciousness as the taxpayer do not feel the burden of the tax they pay. And lastly, that inflationary, indirect tax can bring about inflationary trend in the economy as they result in higher commodity prices. Imposition of higher taxes on essential commodities like cloth, sugar, petroleum product, etc. can cause inflationary trend in the economy. Thank you.